overhead hoppers feed the empty superglue bottles into a star wheel that gently spaces them along the filling conveyor.
Stainless microfilling nozzles lower into each bottleneck, pausing for a heartbeat, then delivering precise microdoses of clear cyanoat adhesive.
Quality cameras mounted over the conveyor capture each bottle's fill height.
Any bottle detected with a low or high fill is automatically nudged sideways by a pneumatic arm.
The line transitions into a capping state.
Macro focus captures the ridges and grooves of the cap threads gripping the bottleneck tightly, forming a secure seal to keep the cyano.
A close-up of the laser-marked code shows sharp, permanent characters that will help trace each bottle of superglue back to its exact production conditions if needed.
Shelves in the QA room are stacked with reference bottles of earlier batches, each clearly labeled with production.
Back on the production floor, automated check weighers measure each labeled bottle, rejecting any that are even slightly outside.
Bottles that pass all checks enter a high-speed packing machine where they are grouped into small cardboard sleeves.
Rows of pallets of instant adhesive line up under cool, dry conditions, labeled with batch numbers and storage instructions to protect the glue's performance. The entire facility is dedicated to producing small, narrow-tip bottles for precision superglue.
Shot shows the smooth welds and polished surfaces of the tanks and pipelines, designed to avoid contamination. 64. The camera glides along a set of thick hoses that lead to an exhaust system, safely venting any vapors from the
A close-up shows silica gel dryers integrated into the air supply for the filling zone, tiny beads glowing slightly.
Viscosity is holding steady at 350.
Good. Line speed is optimal, and the reject rate is still 0.
The camera zooms into the cured adhesive line, now a thin, glassy ridge between the metal surfaces.
Gel packets and moisture indicators are shown inside storage cabinets where adhesive bottles await packing, again highlighting the
The droplet is allowed to touch a small plastic test strip, instantly spreading into a thin, shiny film that fixes the piece.
Another close-up reveals tiny anti-tamper rings at the base of every cap, their uniform spacing signifying that every bottle of glue is securely sealed.
The final shot slowly pushes in on a neatly arranged retail display of the superglue packs in a Japanese store, surrounded
Inside a small viewing port, the camera catches a gentle swirl of crystal clear cyanoacrylate as a slow turn.
At the start of the filling hall, a conveyor brings in trays of newly molded micro bottles. They're distinct.
A macro view lingers on the inner bore of a nozzle, revealing a narrow passage precisely sized for single drops of
The bottles move under an ionized air jet station that blows away dust and particles. A close-up showing their clean, flawless.
The filling nozzles descend again, this time captured from below through a transparent safety shield, as ultra-precise
Slow motion reveals the microstreams of adhesive entering the bottles, forming tiny crystal clear pools that stop at exactly the same height in every container.
Bottles that fall outside the strict weight range are nudged gently onto a side track, where a young Caucasian clear. At the capping station, a rotating bowl vibrates thousands of tiny, pointed caps into alignment. They're built
capped bottles pass under a UV inspection station, where any trace of adhesive on the outside glows faintly, allowing a camera to flag bottles that need cleaning.
Instant cyanoacrylate adhesive. Irritation warnings. Avoid contact with skin, eyes, and mouth.
The oven's glass door reveals the bottles under gentle heat, their pointed caps and hazard labels clearly visible.
The camera focuses on a pair of metal strips glued edge to edge, the joint so thin that only a narrow, glossy line of
The cartoning machine folds and glues the box flaps shut, a brief streak of hot melt glue being applied and then pressed tight to seal each superglue carton. The camera tracks a conveyor where the small cartons combine into larger multi-pack bundles, shrink wrapped together.
Cyanoacrylate adhesive stock. In the loading dock, the superglue pallet is secured with straps, surrounded by boxes of related tools, tapes, and industrial supplies.
Investment. The camera briefly shows the wider aisle containing only adhesive-related products: epoxy, wood glue, tapes, sealants.
Back in the factory, we returned to a different production line dedicated to slightly larger superglue bottles for
After a brief wait, the steel plates are clamped into a pull tester and the gauge needle jumps upward.
53. Macro focus on the torn metal surface shows that some of the underlying material has deformed before the thin cyanolate layer fails, highlighting the adhesive's power.
Training covers handling cyanobrillet, including wearing gloves, avoiding skin contact, and never using the glue near food or eyes.
この接着剤は強力なので必ず保護具を着用してください。特に目と嗅覚への付着には厳正に注意して緊急処置プロシージャーを守ってください。
In the maintenance area, metal trays hold dismantled filling nozzles and hoses labeled for cyanobrillet only, soaking in a specialized cleaning solution.
The camera zooms in on tiny cured glue flakes floating in the cleaning bath, proof of how quickly cyanoacrylate solidifies when exposed to air and moisture.
Channel is clear. No residue detected.
The droplet is gently wiped away with a lint-free cloth held by a gloved technician, who then drops the cloth into a chemical waste. The camera glides past this dashboard, turning to show lines of finished superglue cartons moving toward the warehouse.
In a quiet corner of the plant, sample bottles from each shift are stored in a dedicated temperature-controlled cabinet.
Macro focus reveals the tiny date code.
An overhead shot shows both consumer and industrial superglue lines running in parallel, reinforcing that the entire building is
A close-up of the emergency wash station shows diagrams of hands and eyes being rinsed, underscoring once again that a faint vortex forms in the center of the liquid as the thickener hydrates.
Individual strands of hydrated polymer drifting and stretching in the moving water, forming delicate web-like structures.
We peer into the main tank as the slightly viscous mixture circulates in a gentle whirlpool.
Through a transparent dome, we see the gel streaming into a secondary homogenization tank.
The camera glides beneath the reactor platform, following the gentle curve of a large outlet pipe that carries the gel.
Inside a smaller holding tank, we see the gel entering from an overhead inlet and spreading out across the surface in slow waves.
A slow-moving agitator blade turns just beneath the surface, keeping the gel uniform without creating new bubbles.
disperses. The clear mass flows evenly, unbothered by the fine filtration. This gentle pass ensures water-based
Back at the main line, a wide shot shows multiple stainless manifolds that can direct the gel toward different future filling lines.
The gel now passes through a temperature conditioning unit, its passage visible in an illuminated window. The faint heat
restrictions. A rheology tester lowers a small metal plate into the gel. The water-based lubricant spreads smoothly.
In another view inside the buffer tank, the gel surface has become almost completely still, disturbed only by the faintest movement from slow agitation. Through its inspection window, the viewer sees identical gel, confirming the consistency of water-based personal lubricant gel across multiple vessels.
The internal bubble rises the same distance each time, indicating consistent viscosity for water-based personal lubricant gel. A gentle close-up shows a washdown spray briefly rinsing the reactor interior after the bulk gel is removed.
The shot drifts to a small pressure relief sight glass near the top of the tank, where the gel level just barely kisses the bottom of the window.
A series of color-coded hoses hangs neatly on a wall, each tagged for specific product use.
A single pilot filling head is briefly tested with the bulk gel, dispensing measured amounts into transparent test containers.
The filled test containers rest on a stainless tray under bright inspection lights. The gel inside each tube or bottle
allowing water-based personal lubricant gel filled into tubes or pump bottles to start its final journey.
The gel surges forward, filling the previously empty tube with a clear, viscous column. The camera tracks with the flow.
Soft light from the adjacent room glows through the frosted glass door as water-based personal lubricant gel moves silently.
As the pumps open, thick ribbons of water-based personal lubricant gel pour into the bottles from above, spiraling slightly as they strike the bottom.
A similar conditioning module slowly rotates and tips each filled bottle just a few degrees.
Pump bottles, caps, and pump heads are automatically sorted and fed into place by vibratory bowls.
Automated cappers spin pump tops onto the bottles, tightening them to a precise torque. As each pump head is secured, a small amount of water-based personal lubricant gel shifts inside.
Camera tracks along a row of freshly capped pump bottles. Water-based personal lubricant gel appears as calm, transparent columns that move in unison. On the tube line, each sealed tube passes through a coding printer that applies discrete date and batch information.
Combined with inspection mode. Camera off the pump that is rows of paint with water-based personal lubricant enhances the parallel.
The opinion. A pump bottle sample is secured into our
Two, three. Back on the line, labels are prepared for application. A roll of pre-printed labels unwinds in front of the camera. In a combined visual inspection zone, cameras above and beside the conveyor capture high-resolution images of each container.
The line now directs containers into a grouping area where small platforms gently bump them into predefined clusters.
Shipment confirmed. Water-based personal lubricant gel, destined for various pharmacies and personal care stores.
Transitioning to the sales context, the camera now appears inside a bright Japanese pharmacy's personal care aisle. Shelves are lined with neatly arranged boxes.
From a wider angle, the camera observes the entire shelf segment, noting how water lubricant gel is grouped.
Mình chứng kiến cái giải thao lại sợ Anh đang dùng đơn số cái chương trình mà lại gặp lại giải con sắm nó mình cho global.
The camera drifts along the reflective floor tiles beneath the shelf. catching the mirrored silhouettes of bottles.
The scene shifts back mentally to the factory, superimposing a brief visual memory of mixing tanks and filling lines over the current image of shelves.
The factory memory fades, leaving once again only the calm shelf of finished goods in the pharmacy.
Water-based personal lubricant